All right, we are live. Um, so I was on a flight here recently, had an amazing conversation about a business I knew nothing about.
So I was on a flight here
Let me got
recently, had an
feedback.
amazing conversation.
All right, let's try it again. See if we're getting any feedback. Cool. I think we're good. I think we're good. Awesome. So I do want to talk about meeting somebody in business that I was totally unfamiliar with. Basically, somebody who flips lottery tickets, and he's done this maybe a couple dozen times. So he's met and worked with a lot of lottery ticket winners, and just has some amazing stories. And some lessons to be learned about money and money management. I think we've all heard of kind of some of the horror stories that happen with some of the lottery ticket winners. And so it was interesting to get an inside view. And one of my biggest takeaways was actually something totally unrelated, which was around meditation. Some of the recommendations that he gives lottery ticket winners, and because he wants them to be successful. Um, and so, yeah, just a really interesting conversation. I want to share that with you because I think there's just some powerful things that, especially if you grew up in a family without a lot of money, is very important. So, before we get into that, though, we do have a call coming up. Our next training to the Patreoners, the Patronies, is coming up, I think, next week. And we're going to dive a little bit deeper into how we add income to the companies and even just personal income by selling puts, selling calls, which is a strategy I'm surprised more people don't talk about, even for their personal life. I've done it a lot for years, just personally. And then a few years ago, we started to add it to the PEFI funds for any dry powder to generate income off of that dry powder. And then we added it within companies. So now, I've shared some of I'm sharing all the trades that we're doing within the Patreon. And so over the last couple of weeks, we've added about $20,000 to the income of the company between just the different entities. And then shared a trade today I did that was about 1,600 in income net. It was actually 1,900 total that I did in just my personal account. So that this is a different kind of strategy. It's not as much like trading and trying to wait for a stock to go up or down to make money off of it. It's generating income. Yeah, it's just, I'm surprised more people don't take advantage of it. And there are some intricacies and, right and wrong. So if you're interested in that, now's a good time to join the Patreon. If you're buying a business, one of my goals when I'm buying a business now is, how much cash will we have that's in this business that we can use to add this trading strategy as a special purpose vehicle and basically create new equity out of thin air. And so we go through it sounds more complex than just, it's really, everything's just always a step-by-step process. So join the Patreon if you are interested in that. You can get the recording of the first part of that training and then be ready for the second part so that you can add more to your bottom line. So I want to talk about this conversation that I had, and it made me realize that when just everything that you're combating when you grow up in a family that doesn't have much money. And we obviously know the statistics when it comes to lottery winners. And this guy was able to see it. He would talk about just he's either two type of people, or the people that he would end up buying and he's not actually buying the lottery ticket. He's buying essentially their annuity almost. So if they agree to take the higher amount of money. It's going to be paid over a longer period of time. And then, they inevitably get in financial trouble. And so he's somebody who those people can reach out to get some upfront cash. And so, basically 5 out of the first 5 people that he did this deal with, and then he can also just go turn around. In some cases, he might keep it and get the annuity. In other cases, he might. And there's just all these kind of interests. I won't go into that business. It was a very interesting conversation. There's just some really neat things you can do to maximize your income off of the deals. I always say as well, just kind of a side note. When I'm flying, depending on where you're flying to, buying the first class ticket can just be worth it because of the people that you're going to meet. And especially if you're going international, they're in business class, first class, those can be some good conversations. But some of the insight was interesting in ways that we can even structure the deals that we're doing on acquiring businesses. But after doing this with 5 individuals, all 5 went broke. They were already kind of spending the money. They were in debt. They needed his money. He would say, hey, listen, like, if you keep doing what you're doing right now, you're going to lose this money too. Sure enough, they would call him, after a little while and say, like, hey, is there anything else I can do? How can I get more money? It's like, all that money's gone. It's like, yeah. So millions of dollars that would just be gone. When what he realized in those conversations, which was really valuable, is that most people aren't built to ever get money, let alone be able to keep the money if they did get it, because of all of the chatter that's in their head. So if you grow up, all of the input in your head, and if you grow up in a poor family, all of the input in your head from a very young age is poor ideas, right? And so you don't even realize it, and it's not ill intention, but that's just, they're in that situation. So they're automatically thinking from that level. And so everything that's in your head, you basically can just consider it wrong because it was poured in by poor people. If you're going to a certain church and everybody in that church is poor, there's going to be a certain kind of sermon. I remember, one time I went to visit a wealthier church. And I was like, wait a minute, the sermon here is a little bit different. So based on your surroundings, on your school and inner city and all these things, you just have all of this stuff that's being poured into your head, and it's all in your subconscious. And the only way to ever get aware of it is to be able to quiet your mind and be able to be aware of your thoughts, like what's popping into your head. And today we have an even worse situation where people can't sit still. They can't be in a state of like awareness to even listen to their brain, because it's just automatic. Like everything's like, okay, reach for your phone, look at this, scroll that, click this. It's a very short attention span, which is for poor people the most dangerous, because you don't have that ability to sit down for 10 minutes straight and just be aware of your thoughts. And so if you're just reacting from your subconscious, if everything that you're doing is just a reaction from your subconscious, and everything that's in your subconscious, or at least 99% of what's in your subconscious, especially the most powerful things that are in there, are from a young age, all of the basically the operating system that you're operating on is going to lead you to being poor. And that's what he realized as he was talking to these people. It's like, it wasn't just, oh, stop spending money on this, or stop treating your money this way, or you should invest and do real estate, or you should do this. Even if they did real estate, they wouldn't make money because their operating system, everything in their subconscious, it's just too many different things. You got to just start with, okay, well, no, like this kind of mortgage doesn't make sense. Like, why would you do that? Like, wait a minute, this property manager, the way they set this up and this deal that you signed, like that's not how you should do. It's like every little thing, that every tiny decision that they're making is going to lead them down the wrong path. And so it was interesting. It's like after that, I would really, some people would do it, some people wouldn't. But he would have them read certain books and then get in a state of just like meditating on a regular basis and just listening to their subconscious and then comparing that subconscious with the other new input. Now, again, most people can't sit still for 10 minutes, let alone sit in a state of quieting their mind, just being aware of everything without reacting to it. Because instead of the thought of being able to just be aware, instead of the thought coming in from the subconscious, grab your phone and look at Instagram. Instead of reacting to that, you have to have the awareness to be able to listen to that and just say, okay, no, that's a poor thought. And then like next. And like, what's the next thing? It's almost like just letting the clouds come by and not reacting to it. And again, even that reaction is kind of a poor thing. It's like you don't have a disconnect between the thoughts that your subconscious is telling you and what you actually do. So either, I was having this conversation with a couple of brokers on Good Merger lately, where it's like, there has to, you're either going to be a slave to your subconscious, your brain, or it's going to be a slave to you, and it's working on solving the things that you need solved. If you're a slave to your subconscious, the downside of that, I say it's a slave to your subconscious, but you're really a slave to society, because we're not in control of the subconscious. They say it's like in a given day, especially now with the internet, we're seeing like 20,000 something ads for different things, which is like completely outrageous. But between billboards and walking through a mall or walking through a hall or being on the phone and listening to the radio, it's just bombarded with all of these things. And then you add to that even if you're on Instagram, like the things that aren't ads end up being ads as well. So all of this stuff, in addition to everything that poor people have told you and you've learned from poor family, and all this stuff is just in your subconscious that you don't know is even there unless you're able to quiet your mind and be aware of every thought that comes in. You end up in a situation where you're really a slave to society. So if you're not in control, if you're a slave to your subconscious, you're a slave to your brain, you're not in control of your subconscious, then you end up a slave to society. And society, bottom line, is built to keep you poor, because they talk about the school system and all those things, but we're taken from being business owners into kind of this servitude of factories and that kind of thing. And so school is built for us to be workers. So the really cool thing about that was just this realization of like, wow, like forget lottery winners. If you're fortunate enough to win the lottery and now you're only like your toughest job, and it still is a very tough job, but you've already won the first part, you've gotten the money. And a lot of people say, oh, it wouldn't be. That's what everybody, he would talk about. It's like, because you would have people where it's like, no, they think they know. We think we know how to treat money or how to think about money or, all these things. And, he talked about one guy where when he saw he won, he called each of the family members and he asked them for like, it's like, hey, I'm behind on my rent. And just all these stories was really interesting. It's like, I'm behind on my rent. I need like $500. Can you give me, can I hold $500 for a week? And one after another, like people were like, no. And a couple people were like, okay, yeah. Won like $10 million. And so the people that said, yeah, he was like, okay, here, I'm gonna break you off something. People said, no, like, hey, when I was down, you weren't there. So blah, blah, blah. And so he met this guy. He's like, oh, like that was a very wise thing. Like he thinks, oh, like this guy's gonna be one of the guys that really makes it. But sure enough, just a few poor money decisions, not thinking about things the right way, and even somebody who did have wisdom. It's not about not being smart. It's not about not being wise, but it's just a specific money map that's been downloaded into your subconscious. And if you're following the wrong one, you're going to end up poor. If you're following the poor map, if that's what's the only thing that's been downloaded in your subconscious, if you're aware enough to get rid of all of the tiny aspects of the poor map, then you can end up not having to go down that path. We'll do a couple of comments and we'll bounce out of here. I hope everybody's having a productive day. Hello, sir. I think it's Yaquab. You have to let me know if that pronunciation is right. Says, hello, sir. I hope your day's going well. It is. It's been very productive. And I got to make it out to Santa Barbara, man. Very, very jealous. I was just talking about my days in San Diego, down the road from you, back in the day when I was doing a deal out there and was there for about 6 months. But yeah, love Santa Barbara. Hope everybody has a productive rest of the week. Talk to you soon. If you're interested in some of the high-level strategies, there's like 200 trainings videos that are in the Patreon. So check out patreon.com/Ace Chapman. Talk to y'all soon.